So here we are in Chapter 9, Module 9, and right now I am in, let me change this back to World. What I did is I just changed my translation tool. I double-clicked on that icon on the left, brought up my pop-up box, and then changed the setting to World. We are in the perspective viewport here, and now we're moving over to our front orthographic. But I'm in a component mode and I'm in vertex mode here, and I'm basically trying to get this bend here to these legs. And the reason why I'm in this particular mode, the vertex editing component mode, and I'm in orthographic, is that I can edit both sets of these particular unit, the front and the back, at the same time, as long as I drag select the group of vertices. So moving up and down this leg here, I want to make sure that I'm drag selecting. I'm actually clicking off of the vertices and then dragging onto them. If you were just to select one vertex here, well, basically we're in orthographic and we're selecting the very closest vertex to us, but we're not selecting any of the others. So we would just be offsetting our model, and our model would then get deformed, and we would have to go back in and do some more problem solving. So make sure while you're editing and modeling in orthographic that you do drag select these edge loops of vertices. Okay, I got that bend looking pretty good. I think I may come in and fix a little bit here where it's a little wonky. So I'm going to go back into my vertex mode, and I think I can maybe do some of it here in perspective. Still not really getting me what I want here. So let's see. Yeah, I'm trying just to angle this correctly and see if I can smooth that transition out a little bit. Not too bad. Again, this is a prop. This is just an asset in our scene, and most likely we won't be looking at that area within, our leg unit. So that's something definitely to take into account, but let's go back into our vertex mode here in our orthographic front view, and because I just want to fine-tune this a little bit more, even though probably won't be noticed, it's good practice to get into. Much better. Very nice. So we got one set. It looks like here the right side of our stool, and we'll call that the right side unit. So now we have to make a left side. And to do this, we're going to duplicate, but we're going to do something a little bit different with our duplication here. And to do this, we have to utilize a special duplicate, or duplicate special, and it's up here underneath Edit. And we can come down here to Duplicate Special. I'm going to click on this option box here, and I'll reset it. And if we look at, we have some translation numbers and some scale numbers. Well, I know when I'm mirroring things, I need to, basically set this X to a -1. And this is common with most of our duplicating. And as we do that, and I click Apply, you can see that it did duplicate it, but it switched its position over basically to the left side. Now it didn't translate, it didn't move farther over to the left. It just basically reproduced it to that same position. And I'm just going to move it over with my translation tool here and try to get it positioned as close as possible. It's looking pretty good. Yep, very good. Now this time what we have to do is we have to combine these two, because I want them to be one piece, one piece of geometry. So I'm going to select the right and the left. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to select Combine. Now they've basically one particular unit. Okay, it still has all of the translations and the rotations, and it's listed here in our outliner. The main part though is if we look up here at the top, we have these transforms of our legs, and those transforms control this particular portion of it, and we'll probably do some housekeeping with organizing this a little later. But I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that new piece, and I'm going to delete all of the translations. Okay, so what I did is I did duplicate it, all right, and it produced another one, and then I could delete the rest from the outliner. Pretty cool, huh? So we got our scene a little bit cleaner. We have this information here of our scene and set. Just a second, guys. What I'm going to do is I went into my orthographic view and I went into my front view, and I noticed that it's just not quite lining up correctly. So we could scale these out a little bit on the x-axis, and the reason being that we can do that now, again, is it's because it's one object now, and it allows us to scale it and to translate it and everything at once. That looks a little bit better, much better. Okay, so moving forward, our next step is to create somewhat of a neck here, a little place where the spring mechanism of our stool will reside. It'll exist in this little type of neck. Maybe you can even call it a flange of some sort. So to do this is the area that I'm going to create, okay, and it's this little bridge that goes across each unit. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to take some of the faces within that area, and we're going to delete them. So let's get started. I'm going to choose here in the middle, try to get it as close as I can to the middle. I believe we got it here, and we want a group big enough to support what we're going to create. So probably about I'd say about 4 faces. Yeah, about like such. I think that would do pretty good. Might extend it out. I'm just thinking, nope, pretty good. All right, I'm going to delete that, and then across from it I want to also delete a hole so that I can create a bridge similar to what we did with our original legs. So I'll select these here and I'll hit delete. Make sure that they are even. Oops, I'm glad I looked. Select those, deselect that, and now I can hit delete. I'm going to go into my edge mode. So I right clicked and held, and I'm going to double click on the opening edge, and if you double click on it, it'll select that loop around. Nice. And I held down shift and then I double clicked once more. So now that I have these selected, what I have to do is I have to bridge them. So right here's our bridge, okay, or we can come up here to edit mesh, come down to bridge, we'll open up our dialog box. In our options here we have this 4 subdivision. I'm not sure that's going to be enough, so I may increase that. Let's do something like maybe 6, and we'll hit bridge. That's pretty nice, pretty cool, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm still going to do a little bit of modeling on it just to, you know, make it look a little bit more realistic, I should say, and not so standard and bland. So with those edges selected, what I want to do is I want to scale them. I'm going to scale it up a little bit, kind of give it that nice taper like it was welded on there. And from here, this looks pretty good. I think I'm going to leave the scaling with that alone for now. And let's go into edge mode. Actually, let's go into face mode. And I'm going to select the faces here in the center, okay? And I'm just going to raise those up. And that gives us a nice little bump there away from the actual legs. And then next I'm going to go ahead and select the side and the right side, left side and right side of what I've already selected, and just raise that up a little bit so the transition isn't as nasty, you know, isn't as abrupt as just going straight up. And I may scale this a little bit just to, again, give us some room for our mechanism to sit. Now, I'm not doing this to be like an engineer by any means. All I'm doing is just trying to give the appearance that we did engineer this particular, you know, area of our stool. I may fine-tune this a little bit. Oop. Can I move it back and forth to scale it if we want to move both sides at the same time? Not too shabby. Alright, looking pretty good. So with our legs now being complete, you know, we could probably spend a little more time cleaning up the mesh and making everything super smooth, but I think for what we're going to use this for, it's pretty good. And in the next tutorial, we're going to start to develop our spring mechanism, and we're going to place that. So I'll see you in the next video.